here the book Waterfall of Solidarity and Resistance, Sharing the Stories. And I have the opportunity and the privilege of speaking to some of the people intimately involved with the design and production of this book. Sarah, you've been involved with the tapestry from the beginning. In fact, I think it started with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about this project and where the idea originated?
Well, back in 2017, the WCC really made a commitment to invigorate WCC's involvement in the Thursdays in Black movement. And we were looking at all sorts of ideas to relaunch, to reinvigorate, to re-inspire. And for me, I was influenced by some of the work around HIV and AIDS campaigning that I had done in the Ecumenical Advocacy Alliance, particularly the Alliance's global poster competition addressing HIV stigma, and the AIDS quilt in the US. Because these are opportunities to show the stories and the people and the feelings behind this movement that you're campaigning for. So we had looked at creating a global exhibit. We talked about this global exhibit that people would submit panels to, and I was suggesting that there would be an artist who would actually pull it together, but the theme would be resilience and resistance and solidarity and hope. And it just grew from there. We were never able, though, to get an artist to conceptualize the exhibit. But we had redesigned the Thursdays in Black design for the WCC, and we incorporated those pilgrim routes of purple and white, and got the idea that they're waves, they're water, and there's a waterfall. And a waterfall is powerful, creates a path, and continues down. It creates movement. And so, we went with the idea of a waterfall and a tapestry.
What were some of the joys, but also some of the challenges in the process of developing this tapestry?
The first challenge was getting the word out there and inspiring people to submit the panels. When you're trying to do this from an international standpoint, you actually need local connections. You need somebody to really say, yes, that means something, and I'd like to contribute to that. So we had a challenge of how do you show people what you're trying to achieve. I had a friend design or illustrate what the tapestry, that kind of waterfall tapestry, was like, so that we could put that out there. And then I had another friend who I knew was a quilter, and I said, could you, here's what we want to do with the quilt. Could you make a panel for the quilt? And so she made the first one, and we could also say that's an example of something to be done. And it was slow, but then it moved into such powerful stories. One of the first was the picture of a woman holding her hands, and it was from somebody who had experienced abuse. And we, that powerful, it was that personal story where I said, absolutely, this is something we have to do. We have to carry on, and we have to promote it all the more. The other biggest challenge was, while we were getting all these panels, how are we going to get these put together? And I had asked quilting groups and quilters and associations, and nobody was willing to take it on because they all said it was too big. And I was getting really nervous that what we were going to end up with was a safety pinned tapestry, something. And then my colleague Marcelo said, well, my mother worked with a group at the WCC Assembly in Porto Alegre on some similar types of projects. Maybe she could assist. And we contacted Janine, and she said she would do it. And she set aside her work and took this on as a huge sewing project, but also returned the vision to me, because she was just so committed And she went out, she was the ambassador. She went out to schools and to churches and networks and just let people know about Thursdays in Black and this movement. And I would say that, most, if not all, of the Brazilian and Colombian panels that we have in this tapestry is due to her outreach. So it really showed when it captures somebody's heart, change happens.
And then what happened with this tapestry? Where did it go to?
Launched at the WCC 11th Assembly in Carlsbad. And I would just say that it was a good thing, actually, that the assembly was put back a year, because it gave us another year to really put the panels together, and really have a fantastic tapestry. And it was put in the big plenary hall. It was a beautiful statement of the WCC's commitment to overcoming gender-based violence. And I think for a lot of individuals, I saw a lot of people taking photos in front of the tapestry. And then it moved to the Ecumenical Center in Geneva. And the thing with the tapestry is it's something like 6 meters by 6 meters. So it's a pretty long, it's in two basic parts. So there was no place in the Ecumenical Center that it could actually hang all in one piece. And so it was displayed in the lobby. But this was also something profound, because we had lots of visitors who came to the Ecumenical Center, and you could see from the photos that they would always take photos or group photos in front of the tapestry, and you could see people's reaction. So it continued to carry this message. All these 180 plus stories in each of the panels really spoke to people. And now we had to move offices, so it had to be packed away, but we are open to displaying it in other places and have one invitation to display it in 2025.
And you have a book.
We have a book. It was very important to honor the stories that came with the panels. That each of these panels were pieces of art and craft, but they also meant something to people who created them. Some of those were individuals, some of them were group efforts, and they would describe how they put the panel together as a group. And we couldn't just sort of leave it. So we really wanted to put a publication together to share those. And I am just so grateful for the practical support, the financial support from those who were able to make that happen. And then to be able to work with Ursa, the graphic designer, to make a publication that lifts up a tapestry, both in feel and in look. I think she did a fantastic job.
It was really quite moving for me to hold the book in my hands for the first time. I think it really conveys the message of the tapestry. What would you hope people would do with the book?
It's both profoundly moving, but it's also inspiring, I think. So I hope people actually read it, but then I hope people take it and encourage other people to read it, and even just to, open it up and say, look at this story, because I think it draws people in, and that these are real stories and these are real reflections.
Thank you, Sarah. Oza, you have been asked to work on a WCC publication, on the Waterfall of Solidarity, the tapestry that people worldwide contributed to for the WCC's campaign on gender based violence. Tell us a little bit more about your experience working on this project.
It was the beginning of 2023, and I was asked if I wanted to participate in this project and work on this book. And initially, I started reading what was on the website at that time about the stories around the tapestry. And I, of course, then also looked at all the images that I could find from the tapestry. And it was immediately very touching stories just by watching those images of the panels. So many stories behind each and every panel. And I thought throughout the whole process of the importance to give them dignity.
You made some very specific choices in the design of the book. I think of the cover, of the way in which you can actually see the binding of the book when you open it. And I think of the transparencies that you inserted in different places in this book. How did you come up with these style elements, and what was the meaning of the specific elements?
At the very beginning, when I had first just started to get an overview of the whole tapestry project, I came up with quite a few very specific ideas about the whole book. That I wanted to have it, like you say, the open spine to show the vulnerability of these people. I actually had an idea in the beginning to have some pages just blank, because of course there are people who never got to tell their stories. But it would be a bit hard to include that at the end, because it could also be taken for us missing out printing the pages. But I think the transparent pages still, because it's very small, only sketches or just a few wordings on those transparent pages.
You said something on your social media last year about what it meant for you to work on this publication, and that really touched me. So could you tell us a little bit about what it meant to you as a very experienced designer that designs books and publications all the time to work on this specific book?
It really touched me, and the whole process became quite a long process. I think we worked on it for about 6 months altogether, and I think it was good. The panels is powerful, is very powerful, especially when you watch them. I have still not seen the whole real tapestry for real. I've only seen the images of it, but I can just imagine, because I've seen so many images of lots of people standing in front of it, realizing how large it is. The best you can do now is just read the book. It's impossible to explain it.
I am Lynn van Rooyen, and this was the first episode of Ecumenical Book Talks. Join us again soon.